Visits families of slain hunters in Kano, pledges swift justice. Tribunal to deliver judgment on Edo gubernatorial election petition on Wednesday, April 2. And Nigeria faces surge in meningitis cases, deaths as peak season sets in. Thank you for joining us on News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I'm Semisola Hatikun. There's widespread condemnation for the brutal killing of 16 hunters from Kano State by a vigilante group at Uromi, Edo State. According to reports, the 16 hunters were among 25 travelers on their way to Kano State for the Eid al-Fitr celebrations, and where they were intercepted by the vigilantes on suspicion that they were kidnappers and were lynched to death. Governor Monday Okpebholo has now pledged that swift justice will be served for the 16 slain hunters. Okpebholo made the pledge when he paid a condolence visit to the bereaved families at Torankawa in Kano State in company of Governor Abba Yusuf. While expressing deep sorrow over the tragic incident, Okpebholo said the government will not relent until justice is served, adding that 14 people have been arrested and moved to Abuja for interrogation. On his part, Governor Yusuf, while thanking his Edo State counterpart for the prompt visit, called for the immediate prosecution of those arrested so that justice could be served. Making a similar call for financial compensation for the bereaved families of the slain hunters, the Minority Caucus of the House of Representatives further called for improved collaboration between security agencies and local vigilante groups to enhance intelligence gathering and response strategies against criminal elements. Well, to discuss this further, to share his thoughts, is the former Assistant Director of the Department of State Services, Dennis Amakri. Thank you very much for your time. Now, the government has repeatedly called on local vigilante groups and hunters to step in to fill security gaps in the fight against bandits and terrorists in Nigeria. But then, how serious is this incident in highlighting the dangers of mob actions in the country?
Okay, thank you for having me. Well, you see, this kind of situation was what we were worried against earlier, because when these vigilantes were formed, especially Amotekun, you know, it was stated, in fact, many security experts were saying it, that it's good to form them to fill that gap between the police and the rural people. But it has they have to be under the supervision of a police authority, you know, or an SCDC. But they've been operating on their own, and right now we have this very, very sad situation where people were, you know, just killed.
All right, now the government has called for an investigation, but what protective measures should be adopted and what steps can be taken to ensure improved working relations between the government and local security outfits to prevent further losses?
Just like I said, it is very, very important that they should be trained. Number one, they should be trained. And after being trained, they should be under the guidance of either the police or an SCDC, and then be supervised so that they just don't go out on their own, especially when they are carrying guns. You know, these guns are supposed to be licensed if you know, if they are actually carrying them legally. So it's important that we have this in place. Otherwise, you have these guys running around on their own without reporting to anybody, setting up roadblocks, and then, of course, the next thing you see is that, you know, this kind of things will happen. If it's very, very important to also note that, yes, in their quest, they have caught people who are actually bandits. Okay, we cannot cancel that out. And then, of course, when they saw these particular people traveling with all kinds of ammunition and guns with them, I think basically they reacted. But if they were reporting to a particular formal security agency or law enforcement agency, this particular situation will not happen.
At the Department of State Services, thank you very much, sir, for sharing your thoughts. Still in Edo State, the Governorship Elections Petition Tribunal is set to deliver judgment on the petition filed by the People's Democratic Party and its candidate Asue Ighodalo against the September 21, 2024 governorship election. The tribunal's decision comes after Ighodalo and the PDP challenged the declaration of Monday Okpebholo of the All Progressives Congress as the winner of the election by INEC after he polled 291,667 votes to defeat Ighodalo, who got 247,274 votes. The petitioners alleged that the election was marred by irregularities and that the governorship election was invalid due to non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act of 2022. They prayed the court to nullify the declaration of Okpebholo as winner. However, Okpebholo and the APC asked the court to dismiss the petition, arguing that the petitioners failed to substantiate their allegations. The three-member tribunal, headed by Justice Wilfred Kpoche, had reserved judgment in the petition after parties adopted their final written addresses on March 3. As part of the renewed efforts to combat insurgency in the country, Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Olatibosun Oluyide, has charged troops to remain steadfast and committed to their duty to restore normalcy in the northeast and enable socio-economic activities to thrive. The Army Chief gave the charge during a Sala luncheon held at Mai Malari Cantonment in Maiduguri on Monday. TV360's correspondent Solomon Josiah completes the report.
The visit of the Chief of Army Staff comes at a critical time as troops continue to confront security threats in Nigerian Northeast region. Represented by the General Officer commanding 7th Division, the gathering provided the Army Chief an opportunity of engaging with frontline commanders, assessing ongoing operations, and providing strategic directions to enhance the effectiveness of counterinsurgency efforts. These serve as a reassurance of the military leadership commitment to supporting troops and strengthening national security.
The Chief of Army Staff and key principal staff officers were in the theater. They spent about 3 days in the theater, going between sectors and sectors. The essence is to come back, give us that encouragement to continue what we are doing. If not with resilience, we wouldn't have been where we are today. People celebrated Maiduguri throughout. People are celebrating Mungunu. Name the most terrible areas here today. People are celebrating. It's because God in His infinite mercy has given us the upper hand to deal with this threat. All we need from the society is that cooperation.
As part of the visit, troops were hosted to a symbolic Salah luncheon aimed at boosting morale, fostering unity, and recognizing the sacrifices of soldiers in the fight to restore peace. The Deputy Theatre Commander, Brigadier General Anthony Okpodu, commended the troops for their dedication and unwavering commitment.
I want to take a moment to acknowledge the tremendous effort and sacrifices made by each and every one of you in the fight against insurgency. Your bravery, resilience, and commitment to our great nations are truly inspiring. Your presence is a testament to the love we share with our gallant troops in the field. We implore you to develop and sustain community resilience in the fight against insurgency in order to facilitate the return to normalcy.
With renewed morale and strategic direction, the troops are expected to raise the tempo in the fight against terrorism and restore lasting peace in the Northeast. In its quest to ending insurgency in the country, particularly the Northeast region, the Chief of Army says he is committed to improve the welfare of troops in the country. Solomon Josiah, TV 360, Borno.
Health matters. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, has raised concerns over the increasing number of cerebrospinal meningitis cases across the country. The latest figures indicate a surge in infections with 807 suspected cases and 74 deaths reported across 22 states and the Federal Capital Territory as of March 26, 2025. The NCDC Director General, Jide Idris, who revealed this in an interview with newsmen on Monday in Abuja, said the agency has activated emergency response measures to curb the outbreak, particularly in Kebbi, Katsina, and Sokoto states, the most affected states. Idris assured the government is intensifying vaccination efforts, which remains the most effective protection against meningitis. However, public awareness and early detection remain crucial in preventing fatalities. He warned health officials that meningitis cases could continue to rise if preventive measures were not taken seriously. Speaking with TV 360 Nigeria, the Executive Director, Chidikon Medical Center, Dr. Philip Njemaze, highlights that while meningitis can affect all age groups, children are at the highest risk due to their increased vulnerability. He, however, urges the National Assembly to suspend the distribution of the malaria vaccine, citing claims that it may be contributing to the rise in meningitis cases.
I know that the report was compiled by the Global Pro-Life Alliance. I'm the chairman of the Global Pro-Life Alliance, and we had compiled just about a year ago, and we made this report after studying the clinical trials. And the clinical trials of the RTS malaria vaccine showed clearly that the incidence of cerebral meningitis will increase 10-fold, 10 times. So that while you give the vaccine to protect the child from malaria, you expose the child to a 10 times greater risk of suffering cerebral meningitis. This is huge for a country like Nigeria, where meningitis is endemic. That means we are going to have an exaggerated rate of meningitis. And this is exactly what we are seeing. Kebbi State which was a trial state for the malaria vaccine, already has had 26 deaths, which is 35% of the total 74 deaths we've had in Nigeria. So that means you have 35% occurring in just one state, Kebbi State, where the vaccine has been tried. So this actually matches what was observed in the clinical trial, and that was why we asked the National Assembly to put a stop to the distribution of this malaria vaccine. This malaria vaccine should not be distributed, should not be given in Nigeria because it exposes us to greater risk. It does all other things that, in fact, it increases the risk of female children dying from cerebral malaria on its own. So the risk it increases with cerebral meningitis makes it a lot more dangerous for us to use it in our place here in Nigeria, which is a tropical climate where meningitis is endemic already. So what are we trying to do? Are we trying to save people from malaria and then they die from cerebral meningitis, which makes no sense at all? And NCDC is right to raise this alarm because at this stage of having already 26 deaths up to January, and we don't know what it is up to this current date of April, but 26 deaths in Kebbi, one state alone where the malaria vaccine is tried. At this rate, we are going to have a pandemic of this of cerebral meningitis to a level that we might not be able to control.
Following public alarm by aviation industry stakeholders, including airline operators, over the increasing rate of theft on domestic flights and international flights, the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, has revealed the names of suspected airlines and number of theft and discourtesy cases on Nigerian route from January to December 2024. For international airlines, the report shows that Royal Air leads in number of theft and discourtesy cases with 58 cases out of 473 flights operated within the period. This is followed by Qatar Air, Egypt Air, Ethiopian Air, Turkish Airlines, and TAC Angola. On the domestic scene, Air Peace leads the pack with 404 cases out of 15,413 flights operated within the period. Others are Arik Air, Dana Air, Aero Contractors, Ibom Air, Green Africa, and United Nigeria Airlines. We'll take a short break here. Still to come on News Now. China, Japan, and South Korea unite to bolster regional trade amid looming U.S. tariffs. Stay with us for details.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the GoTo app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other Paper Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Welcome back. Here's a recap of our top stories. Governor Monday Okpebholo of Edo State has assured the families and people of Kano State of swift justice for the 16 hunters who were brutally killed by a vigilante group at Uromi, Edo State, while on their way to celebrate Eid al-Fitr. We also told you that the Edo Governorship Elections Petition Tribunal will on Wednesday, April 2, 2025, deliver judgment in the petition filed by the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and its candidate Asue Ugudalo against the September 21, 2024 governorship election. In case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV and AVO TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery, and Apple Store, on Facebook or TV360 online. Let's switch to business news. Joy Uchejim has the latest. Over to you, Joy.
Thank you, Simi, and welcome to Business News. Now, the average turnover at the Nigerian foreign exchange market has increased by 75.17% to $296.16 million in the fourth quarter of 2024, compared with the $169.07 million in the third quarter of 2024, reflecting increased trading activities in the market. The Central Bank of Nigeria disclosed this in its economic report for the fourth quarter of 2024. Average exchange rate of the Naira per US dollar and the NFEM stood at 1,000 Naira, 623 Naira per dollar, compared with 1,588.64 Naira per dollar in the third quarter of 2024. This represented a 2.13% increase depreciation of the exchange rate at the NFEM during the review period, owing to increased demand pressure. And still on business, China, Japan, and South Korea have pledged to strengthen regional trade cooperation as they brace for the impact of U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs set to take effect on Wednesday, April 2nd. The commitment was made during the first economic dialogue between the three of Asia's leading economic powerhouses in 5 years, held on Sunday. In a joint statement released after the meeting, the ministers emphasized the importance of collaboration to mitigate the economic fallout from Trump's tariff policies. The trade ministers of the three countries also agreed to pursue comprehensive and high-level negotiations for a trilateral free trade agreement aimed at promoting both regional and global trade. And that's on both business news. Back to you, Simi, for the rest of the news.
Thank you very much, Joy. And on the foreign scene, Pakistan has postponed a deadline for hundreds of thousands of Afghans to return to their country due to Eid al-Fitr holidays marking the end of Ramadan. In early March, Islamabad had announced a deadline of the end of the month for Afghans holding certain documentation to leave the country, ramping up a campaign to send Afghans back to their homeland. The UN says nearly 3 million Afghans live in Pakistan. However, many have fled over decades of war in their country and after the return of the Taliban to power in Afghanistan. Ties between the neighboring countries have frayed since the Taliban takeover, with Pakistan accusing Kabul's rulers of failing to root out militants sheltering on Afghan soil, a charge the Taliban government denies. A criminal court in Cyprus has acquitted and dropped all charges against 5 Israelis accused of gang raping a British woman in a hotel room after ruling her testimony as not credible and replete with fundamental contradictions. The acquittal means that all the defendants, who were between 19 and 20 years of age during the alleged rape on September 3, 2023, cannot be brought to trial again on the same charges that include sexual assault and abduction. According to a Cyprus news agency report issued late Monday that cited a criminal court announcement, the court found during closed-doors proceedings that most of the contradictions in the woman's testimony concerned the identification of the perpetrators. The court says the woman's initial statement to investigators following the alleged rape presented a number of weaknesses which, under the circumstances, weren't out of the ordinary. And on sports, the Nigerian and Ghanaian boxing authorities have locked horns over the circumstances surrounding the death of former Nigerian champion Segun Success Olarewaju, with both bodies giving conflicting accounts regarding the fighter's medical clearance before his fatal bout in Accra. The 40-year-old former national and West African light heavyweight champion collapsed in the ring during his bout against Ghanaian boxer John Mbanugu at Fight Night 15 of the Ghana Professional Boxing League at the Bukom Boxing Arena on Saturday. He was later pronounced dead at Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Chairman of the Nigeria Boxing Board of Control, Rafiu Ladipo, expressed outrage over the incident, questioning the medical protocols followed by Ghanaian authorities. And Governor of Enugu State, Peter Mbah, has officially announced the members of the local organizing committee for the highly anticipated 23rd National Sports Festival set to take place in 2026. In a statement, Governor Mba emphasized that the appointed members were selected for their outstanding competence, excellence and significant contributions to the sports sector. The governor expressed enthusiasm for what lies ahead, asserting that their collaborations will yield an outstanding and memorable national sports festival for athletes and spectators alike. That's it on News Now. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next time.